And this one.
You've been listening to President Trump at the White House. He has been addressing efforts to support small businesses. As this has been happening earlier, gunshots were heard near the White House. Our chief Washington correspondent, James Rosen, says the Secret Service locked down the press office and other locations. It happened at 15th and Independence, which is right on the edge of the White House complex. For now, the emergency appears to be over, but we will continue to monitor and bring you any updates. CPAC Chairman Matt Schlapp joins me. Matt, before I ask you about the upcoming midterms, it's notable that your wife was at the next table to me at the White House Correspondents' Dinner going down. We had shots. I mean, this is just unthinkable, the shots that we're getting in this town.
Yeah, no, there is a unhinged element. Obviously, the anger towards President Trump is coming from the far left, and they're easily triggered. And, you know, Greta, there's a responsible nature to how we describe things. I'm a partisan Republican conservative, but yet we all have to be responsible in how we describe things. And I think Democratic politicians are unhinged when they call President Trump Hitler, a fascist. You know, Mark Elias, one of their lawyers, is out on Twitter today saying that Trump is going to stop legal voting and upend fair elections. I mean, this is outrageous communications from people who should know better, and it causes this fringe element to believe that maybe elections are being stopped in America, that voting will be stopped, and President Trump is doing that, and they got to take him out, and it's got to stop.
And how do we stop that? I mean, look, it's so hostile both ways. But I mean, but indeed, the shooting of President Trump, who's a Republican. I mean, he's the one who's had the assassination attempts. But I mean, how do we do this? Because we all agree this is unacceptable. But this is not getting any better.
No, it's not getting any better. But I think, you know, look, I'm a partisan, but like I say over and over again, as much as I think Barack Obama was one of our worst presidents ever, I don't want any, you know, violence to befall him or his family. I mean, this isn't good for the country. And I just don't see the Democrats changing their rhetoric, and they need to. And they need to be called on the carpet for their rhetoric. The rhetoric is over the top on President Trump. He keeps winning elections, or won 2 amazing historic elections, because the American people are rejecting their extreme policies. You know, it's the Democrats' extreme policies that have resulted in Republican victories. Maybe they ought to look in the mirror and look at those policies and see why they're so unpopular, and go back to being the Democratic Party that wanted too much spending and a little less Constitution, but they thought the Boy Scouts were good and the cops were good and the military was good. That Democratic Party seems to have faded away.
All right, well, let's turn now to the midterms, which is actually what I want to talk to you about, the redistricting that's going on. It does seem, I mean, that's also a little bit distressing, all the redistricting, because everyone's trying to rig the game in his favor for these districts. I mean, it's pretty, I don't know what to say about it.
Well, but I mean, there's a difference here, which is, yes, it's weird in the middle of the decade to do redistricting, and it is true that President Trump has pushed Republicans to do it, and it is true that Democratic leaders have areas of the country like the Northeast where you can't find a Republican district anywhere, despite the fact that Republicans get over 40% statewide. So, that is classic gerrymandering going on over the country. But what Virginia and California did, they went to the voters and said, look, we're going to make a commission so we get the politics out of these congressional lines. And when they had the power, they gave the middle finger to the commission and went right back and did the maps that benefit the Democratic Party the most. And that's disgusting.
Well, Virginia's your state, and that was pretty heinous the way I forgot exactly what the words were on the ballot, but it said, are you in favor of restoring fairness to voting? Well, I mean, it doesn't tell you what the issues are. And of course, I mean, who's going to say I'm not fair to it? I mean, the way it was worded was so it was bizarre. I mean, it was designed to weight in one direction. I don't know, Greta, who wrote that.
But also, there's a real question, and it's in the courts, about whether that's fair, because in order to change the Constitution in Virginia, in order to have a referendum like that, it says the language has to be clear, and you can't use politicized language. And they did. They made it sound like if you were on my side, which said you shouldn't be able to overturn this nonpartisan commission, that you're unfair and you're trying to prevent fair elections.
I know, it's, for some reason it was worded sort of like, akin to me as like, when did you stop beating your wife? It's like, I don't know. I mean, it was so weighted in one direction. There was no, you knew how what the answer was going to be. Anyway, Matt Schlapp, thank you.
Thank you, Greta.
Coming up, a school, a hospital, a car shop. It sounds like any small town in the world, but you're never going to guess where I'm talking about, and you're going to see it. That surprise when the record continues.
Before Apoquel Chewable for allergic itch, giving dogs pills was a battle of wits.
Oh, Maria, I'm wise to your foolish game.
Is it gone?
Totally gone.
Relief for itchy dogs can be easier. Apoquel, the trusted #1 treatment for allergic itch, is available in a tasty chewable that works fast.
May cause worsening of existing parasitic skin infestations, serious infections, or pre-existing cancers. New neoplasias have been observed. Do not use in dogs under 12 months of age with serious infections or in breeding, pregnant, or lactating dogs.
Ask your vet for Apoquel Chewable.
Do it!
Big corporate insurers are putting your health care on hold.
We're sorry. All of our representatives are still...
While your costs go up. Why? Because for large corporate health insurers, the more they deny and delay your care, the more they make.
All of our representatives are still assisting other customers.
Don't let big corporate insurers keep your health care on hold.
If you still have bad breath by lunchtime, your mouthwash isn't working. Smart Mouth is the only mouthwash that prevents bad breath for 24 hours. This is the only mouthwash I recommend. Upgrade your mouthwash to Smart Mouth today and never have bad breath again.
Every day, bumps and bangs happen. Bruises are optional. Use daily dermatologist recommended Dermend and reduce the appearance of bruises. Get Dermend Moisturizing Bruise Cream in the first aid aisle.
If you've watched any news programs recently, you surely have seen videos like this of the Strait of Hormuz. Frankly, all these videos that news shows air look like any other waterway to me. So we're going to show you what you've not seen about the Strait of Hormuz. I'm curious, as I suspect you are, to learn what the land surrounding the Hormuz Strait looks like. The land includes United Arab Emirates, Oman, and of course, Iran. But I want to know more and see more, so I went to Google Earth, and here is some of what I found. This is the city of Bandar Abbas in Iran. This is right at the port where there are boats like any other port city. Go a few blocks inland, and there is a busy street with cars traveling all over. So now let's go across the 20-mile strait to Oman. And you're not going to believe this one. Nestled in the mountains, there is a school. It sits right by the waters of the Hormuz Strait. These photos are from 8 years ago, and I don't know if the school is still open, but it gives you some idea. Now go a bit west. There is this beautiful coastal road overlooking the Strait of Hormuz. You also have this tiny little airport in Oman. Head west to the United Arab Emirates. Right near the strait, there is the industrial port city named Ras Al Khaimah. It's about an hour east of Dubai. Here, UAE flags line the road. You can see a car store with a Bridgestone sign with the mountains behind it. If you keep driving down the road, there is the Iraq Medical Center. This area looks like many places in the world, but there is a war happening in this vital 20-mile strait. 20% of the world's oil passes through here. Since the war began on February 28th, the strait has been in a chokehold. Hundreds of ships have been stuck, fearing an Iranian attack. As a result, oil prices have skyrocketed. Last night, President Trump announced Project Freedom. The plan is for the U.S. to guide commercial ships through the critical waterway. Today, the U.S. says 2 commercial vessels safely went through the Hormuz Strait. President Trump says the military shot down 7 small Iranian boats that targeted civilian vessels. Also today, the UAE said Iran launched its first missile and drone attack on them since the ceasefire that went into effect on April 8th. They say one drone sparked a fire at an oil facility. Retired Navy SEAL and former Deputy Commander of Central Command, Vice Admiral Robert Harward joins me. Nice to see you, sir. And you, of course, went to high school in Tehran. You know the region pretty well. It looks like almost any normal region, yet the worst things are happening, and it's having the greatest global impact, and the biggest threats are going flying around, and it's incredibly dangerous. So where is this war going? Tell me what you think.
Well, Greta, first off, I love your illustration. I've walked that grounds on both sides of the straits. I've been to Bandar Abbas, I've been to Keshem, I've been to Fujairah, I've been to Oman. So you get that real sense of fidelity on how close this is, how tight the geography is, and what a problem it is. But the president has made it very clear to all, we're going to support the free flow of commerce through the straits. In fact, we're going to demand on it. And we set the forces in place to do exactly that. So again, in a purely defensive mode, we stood to not escort, but guide and protect shipping going through that. And what did the Iranians do? They responded by breaking the ceasefire, launching small craft missiles and drones, not only to attack the shipping, but to strike Oman and strike UAE. So in everything you see, that validates what this is all about and how and why this is so important to everyone, not just the United States, because that ship's coming through weren't American flags. They weren't carrying oil, the U.S. That was for the world's economy, for Europe and Asia and others.
Well, I'm hopeful that our intelligence is great, because I know we pounded them last June. We've been pounding them since February 28th, but I also know that for whatever reason we thought that Saddam Hussein said that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq that turned out not to be. He was just bragging, and I'm just hoping I hope that our mission is a good one, because I don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon, but I don't know if they're just playing with us at this point and scaring all these vessels from all over the world when they really aren't going to harm them. They're not going to mine the area. I don't know.
Well, let's go back to the difference between Iraq when you make that nuclear analogy. That was never verified. That was intelligence assessment that turned out not to be true. This is completely different. The material was verified by the International Atomic Energy Agency, their abilities with cascades and how long it took them to enrich that uranium from highly enriched uranium up to weapons grade material was validated by the IAEA through inspection. So there was no doubt about it.
But they haven't been in there in a while. And it's without it. And of course, Iran lied and said that they didn't have any, and the IAEA did find some. So they're big fat liars. I get that. And I also know that Steve Witkoff said that the foreign minister bragged that they're at a 60% uranium enrichment when it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to 90%. I hear these frightful things, and I know they're liars. So naturally, I do have great concern.
Yeah, we all do. Everyone did. That's why this was necessary. And assume, and don't forget, not just the material, the ability to weaponize it. That means put it on an ICBM and deliver it. With the missile shot they did on Diego Garcia, it validated the point that they were in a weapons program. So not just the material, the missiles to deliver it. So consider this. We had not struck. They delivered that the missile and the program. And a year from now, they decided, we will shut down the Straits of Hormuz under the umbrella of a nuclear weapon. It would have been catastrophic.
What do you make of the fact that all the attention from Iran and the United States is on the Strait of Hormuz, and there has been virtually no, I'm not hearing about any attacks from Iran on Israel? Have they've exhausted their ability to do that, and they know that that's sort of the choke point, Strait of Hormuz, and they can get the most bang for their dollar?
Well, they're running out of assets. We all know that. We've degraded their military capability. So they've got to be very prudent in their application of force, using it when and they need it to have the most impact. Here, where they could affect the world oil supply and drive the prices up, thereby attacking the political will of the United States and our people to capitulate and meet some agreement that would give us short-term satisfaction, but not alleviate the long-term problem as part of their strategy. And don't forget, they still may have some that they may try to take more strategic strikes on. But I think the bigger dynamic is what's happening inside the country. Now that money's running out, they can't pay the IRGC. Have we changed the internal dynamics? And I think these events today help with that. The next step could be boots on the ground. Maybe we decide to take Bandar Abbas, maybe take Qasem, and not hold them, but to demonstrate that we can go to Tehran anytime we want. Would that further weaken the regime and put them at greater risk internally? So I'm sure that's all part of the strategy and the considerations the president's looking at now.
But I do suppose that Iran is also witnessing the fact that the United States isn't getting a lot of help from any of its allies. And so, it's too bad we're not getting more, because that would have much more leverage on Iran if they did. But everyone's just sort of sitting and watching. Vice Admiral Robert Harward, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And 2 U.S. troops are missing, and a search is underway. U.S. Africa Command was taking part in a multi-nation military exercise in Morocco. A United States official speaking anonymously to the Associated Press says the 2 troops went on a hike, and now they are lost or missing. The hike began on Saturday night close to the Atlantic Ocean. That area is both a desert and a mountainous region. That official adds the soldiers were last seen near ocean cliffs. The soldiers' names have not yet been released. Coming up, a man wanted for murder in the Dominican Republic was just released by a federal judge here, despite an Interpol red notice. And now that man is roaming free in the United States. Why did that federal judge release him? That when the record continues.
I wish I loved my smile.
I wish I could get implants.
I wish money wasn't so tight.
I wish I can justify the cost.
I wish my insurance could save me more on dental implants.
See what it can do at ClearChoice. Show us your insurance card and save $5,000 on fixed full double arch implants. That's insurance assurance on a smile that's built for life. Schedule your free consultation today.
Say hello to the lowest prices of the season at Cabinets to Go. Hurry and get our top-selling cabinet collections for half the price during our 4-day flash sale. New trending looks, Chalet White, Montpelier Sage, Cotswold Linen, and more, all half off. Or save up to 50% on best-selling favorites in Malibu White, Nantucket Fluff, and Spring Hill Hickory. Don't wait, the clock is ticking on your new kitchen because the 4-day flash sale ends May 5th. Only at Cabinets to Go, designed to wow.
At Allegiance, we do it differently. Flags 100% made in America by Americans with American materials.
We're proud to create jobs right here in South Carolina. It might not be the easiest way, but it's the right way.
We make American flags the way they should be made, where they should be made.
Join our pledge to keep the American flag truly American.
Visit showallegiance.com to get your high-quality American flag today. That's showallegiance.com.
Sensitive mouth and gums? Ever heard of Closest mouthwash? Your dentist and hygienist have. They know Closest is ultra gentle for sensitive mouths with non-burning mouthwashes that freshen breath, improve gum health, and strengthen teeth. Closest, the gentle mouthwash for sensitive mouths.
Forget the warm-up. DirecTV got hot. They're on fire with more MLB games than anyone. Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
How old are you?
11.
I'm Elmer Heinrich. I'm in the nutritional business, primarily selling plant-derived minerals. Now, after being in this business for 43 years, owning a cancer hospital in Mexico, and associating with some of the most knowledgeable nutritional people in the world, I came to this conclusion. The world is sick due to a lack of minerals in our food, which is caused by a lack of minerals in topsoil. There is an incredible and proven nutritional product on the market that can overcome this problem. It's Immuno 150. This unusual food supplement contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 additional nutrients. There's nothing like it. Now watch the 3 videos on our website and place your order for what may be the best food supplement in the world. Now Immuno 150 is different, it's real, it's powerful, it's helped thousands, and we believe it enjoys the highest reorder rate in the industry. Thank you and God bless.
I've been using Experian Boost to help raise my credit scores, but Experian Boost is even better because now my monthly insurance payments could help boost my scores too. It does it instantly and it's free. So get it through the Experian app.
We're going back to the breaking news. The shots that were heard near the White House, and it's just a short time ago, and this is Trump continues to host a White House event for small businesses. The Secret Service now says one person has been shot by law enforcement. It happened at 15th and Independence Avenue, which is along the White House complex. D.C. police say the scene is now secure, but there will be road closures for several hours. We're going to continue to monitor and bring you any updates. And this may cause your hair to stand on end. According to the Department of Homeland Security, illegal migrant Brian Rafael Gomez was ordered released from ICE custody. That order came from federal judge Melissa DuBois in Rhode Island. Why might your hair stand on end? It's not so much because Gomez is from the Dominican Republic illegally in the United States and had a deportation order, but because he has an Interpol red notice lodged against him for a murder from his home country, the Dominican Republic. In short, Gomez is on the run for an alleged murder in the Dominican Republic, and now he is out and about here in the United States. On April 4th of this year, Gomez was arrested for assault and battery in Worcester, Massachusetts. When he was arrested, authorities ran his name and learned about the Interpol Red Notice. An Interpol Red Notice asks law enforcement agencies worldwide, including here in the United States, to locate and arrest a person pending extradition. According to DHS, the detainer was honored, and ICE in Boston arrested him after he was released on $500 bail for the original assault and battery in Worcester, Massachusetts. But then Judge DuBois ordered Gomez released from ICE custody because she said his continuous detention was unlawful. Judge DuBois found ICE was holding Gomez under a legal authority designed for migrants apprehended at the border. The judge concluded it did not apply to Gomez since he was arrested by local police in the United States and not at the border. ICE argued Gomez was subject to mandatory detention for having an international arrest warrant for murder. Judge DuBois disagreed. Now ICE cannot rearrest Gomez due to Judge DuBois' order. In 2022, Gomez entered the United States illegally. He was caught by Border Patrol near Lukeville, Arizona, but he was released. Meanwhile, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani is in the hospital in Florida. His spokesperson says he has pneumonia. He's in critical condition, but he's stable. Senior correspondent John Huddy has the latest. John?
Yeah, and Greta, we got some good news this afternoon. I received an update from Mayor Giuliani's spokesman, Ted Goodman, who also posted the message on X, writing, and it's pretty long, so bear with me, but it's important. He said that Mayor Rudy Giuliani is recovering from pneumonia. On September 11th, Mayor Giuliani ran toward the towers to help those in need, which later led to a diagnosis of restrictive airway disease. This condition adds complications to any respiratory illness, and the virus quickly overwhelmed his body, requiring mechanical ventilation to maintain adequate oxygen and stabilize his condition. He's now breathing on his own with his family and primary medical provider at his side. And it goes on to read, Mayor Giuliani is the ultimate fighter, as he has demonstrated throughout his life, and he's winning this battle. His family deeply appreciates the outpouring of love and support. The mayor believes in the power of prayer, and we are feeling that strength today. He remains in critical but stable condition. Please keep the prayers coming. President Trump and many others posted messages of support and prayer for Mayor Giuliani, including Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who wrote this on X a little bit earlier this afternoon, saying, Sarah and I pray for Rudy Giuliani's complete and speedy recovery. He was a great mayor and is an amazing friend of Israel and the Jewish people. Stay strong, Rudy. Now, Giuliani hosted his online show Friday night, but mentioned he was under the weather, and you could really hear it in his voice, but like a champ, he continued the show anyway. He was known as America's mayor for leading the country through the darkness and chaos of the attacks on 9/11 and the aftermath and the days, the weeks, the months thereafter. And like so many others, Greta, he too was affected by toxic exposure at Ground Zero. Now, Newsmax CEO Chris Ruddy, a personal friend of the mayor, said that, quote, Rudy Giuliani has been one of the strongest people I have ever met. We are hopeful and praying he makes a comeback, as he has so often in the past. Greta?
John Huddy, thank you. And be on the lookout for two involved in a shooting last night. It was at a party near a campground in Arcadia in Carrickfergus. Oh, that's good. I can't explain this one. Be on the lookout for two. That's in Oklahoma. It's about 18 miles outside of Oklahoma City. According to police, 23 people were injured in the shooting. 18 of those 23 were sent to the hospital. According to the hospital, 3 of those 18 people are in critical condition. According to police, the party was not a permitted or reserved gathering and had been advertised across social media. Public Information Officer for Edmond Police Department, Emily Ward, said this about the suspects.
Are there any suspects?
Yeah. So we're investigating. We do not have anyone in custody at this time.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there a threat to the public right now?
There's no reason to believe there's a threat to the public.
Okay.
And coming up, a huge cruise ship stuck at sea with a deadly rodent-borne virus. Will any country let this cruise ship with 149 passengers dock so they can get off? That when the record condition continues. And I'm going to turn off my phone.
Hey, I'm Dr. Drupinski. I've been looking at the aging process for a long time. Fatty 15 actually slows it down. Fatty 15 comes out of Navy dolphin research. Without the C15, our cells become fragile and age and oxidize. This pushes that back. That's why I take Fatty 15.
Think you need a new roof? Think again. Most roofing companies only make money one way, by selling you a new roof. But what if your roof isn't worn out, just dried out? And with just a little love, you could put off an expensive roof replacement for up to 15 years, at a fraction of the cost of a new roof. Roofmax is a scientifically engineered restoration formula that brings your shingle life back to new. Scan the code and get a free spring roof tune-up with your Roofmax restoration.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
What if you're sick at home or traveling and can't get medical help or prescriptions? Doctors say a medical emergency kit is the answer. Joining me is Dr. Drew.
Thank you. And yes, these kits put you in charge of your health. They come with physician-prescribed medication to treat multiple common and some serious issues as well.
What are some examples?
Sure. Generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other essential antibiotics and antivirals that treat flu, pneumonia, strep, ear infections, sinus infections, urinary tract infections, and more.
So it is like urgent care and a pharmacy at home?
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
How do you know what medicines to take?
You just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Sound advice. Order online in minutes at the website below and save $45. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Leaf Filter is America's #1 gutter protection system because it's built right. And you know me, I don't just take their word for it. I visited their lab and I was impressed. I saw how Leaf Filter is engineered to keep debris out of the gutters and water flowing, helping prevent costly damage. All backed by Leaf Filter's clog-free guarantee. When it's built right, it shows. That's why it's Homes approved.
Schedule your free gutter inspection today. Call 877-77-HOMES or visit leaffilter.com/homes.
Stop. Check this out. Our most advanced performance frame, Talon, is out. It's a bestseller. We just got it back in stock, and I want to show you a little bit about it. These come with our signature lost and broken protection, and you can try them risk-free for 30 days. Check them out at shadyrays.com.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, and it's available at your local pet store.
The grind catches up with everyone.
even me. That's why I trust Cunol Ultra High Absorption Turmeric to support my joint health. It's the #1 doctor-recommended form of turmeric that helps you keep doing the things you love at every age. Cunol, the brand I trust.
This may put the brakes on your desire to take a cruise anytime soon. Right now, a cruise ship with 149 people on board is anchored at sea with no country letting it dock. This because of an outbreak of a rodent-borne virus on board the cruise ship. 3 people have died, 3 others are sick. One of the cases has been confirmed by the World Health Organization to be related to the Hantavirus infection. Only 2 severely ill passengers remain on the ship right now. Now, the WHO says, quote, hantavirus infections are typically linked to environmental exposure. While rare, hantavirus may spread between people and can lead to severe respiratory illness and requires careful patient monitoring, support, and response, end quote. WHO is providing passengers and crew members medical care and support. The company that operates the ship says hantavirus has not yet been connected to the deaths nor to the 2 people sick on board. Now, that's very odd for the cruise ship company to say, since WHO has already confirmed that one of the cases is linked to hantavirus. In the meantime, the cruise ship has been denied docking in Cape Verde, which is a small nation located off the coast of West Africa. The cruise ship company is considering moving the vessel to Las Palmas or Tenerife, both part of the Canary Islands. Meanwhile, today, the passenger aboard the Atlantic cruise ship posted an emotional video.
There's a lot of uncertainty, and that's the hardest part. All we want right now is to feel safe, to have clarity, and to get home. So if you're seeing coverage about this, just remember that there are real people behind it, and that this isn't something happening somewhere far away. It's happening to us right now. I'll share more when I can, but for now, I just ask for your kindness and understanding.
Infectious disease specialist and general internist at Toronto General Hospital and professor at the University of Toronto, Dr. Isaac Bogoch, joins me. Nice to talk to you, sir. And first of all, where do you get the hantavirus? If it comes from rodents, are there rodents on board that cruise ship?
Yeah, that's a good question. And as you point out, the WHO is doing an investigation now. So I think there's still a lot that's unknown. Typically, people get this when they're, for example, sweeping out an attic or a barn or a shed, and a rodent has defecated in the area. And when you're sweeping it out or brushing an area off, you can aerosolize. It's gross to think about, but you can aerosolize the dried urine or feces and accidentally inhale it. And it's got a pretty long incubation period. It's anywhere from a week to over 4 weeks as an incubation period. So I think it's important to note that people may not have even acquired this infection while on the ship. If it is indeed confirmed, it could have been acquired while they were on land, perhaps in Argentina or elsewhere. So a lot that's left to be discovered with this outbreak. But of course, we do know that it is a very severe infection if people do acquire it.
Well, it says it's rare that it's person to person, but I'm still stuck on the fact that back on January 14th, 2020, WHO issued a tweet in which it said that the coronavirus, according to the Chinese, was not transferred human to human. And lo and behold, it turned out to be human to human. And it was a very bad tweet by WHO. So, I mean, if more than one person has the hantavirus on the ship, then it certainly suggests that it might be transferred person to person unless they're all sweeping out the bilge and there are rodents down there.
You bring up an excellent point. And if we look at all the data for hantavirus to date, especially the ones that are acquired in the Americas, yeah, there have been cases of person-to-person transmission. It's just not the main mode or primary mode of transmission. The vast majority of the cases reported to date have been acquired from an exposure to nature. And that doesn't mean that multiple people can be exposed to the exact same thing. But to your point, exactly, I think we have to be humble. We don't have all the information yet. And there's a lot left in this investigation. So sure, there is a possibility of human-to-human transmission. It's just that the vast majority of cases of hantavirus reported to date have been acquired through an exposure to the environment.
What are the symptoms?
So it's got a long incubation period, and people will then develop some non-specific symptoms for a few days, maybe a fever, fatigue, muscle aches and pain, sometimes even gastrointestinal symptoms. But a hallmark of the hantavirus that's acquired in the Americas is a very severe and profound respiratory illness, and it's not ambiguous. People need medical care. It's pretty clear that people will need support for breathing and for oxygenation. So people tend to present to emergency departments and hospitals fairly quickly. Many will need supplemental oxygen. Some people will need to be cared for in an intensive care unit with intubation and ventilation. And it carries a very high mortality rate compared to other respiratory viruses or viruses that impact the respiratory system. Upwards of 20+% of people who are infected with this may succumb to the illness if they're sick enough to present to hospital. So it's fortunately rare, but a potentially very serious infection.
If it's respiratory, I take it there might be a cough. If there's a cough, then you have droplets or you have aerosol. And if it's aerosol transferred, it would seem to me to be contagious. I mean, obviously, I barely got through high school science, but it would seem to me to be contagious that way than rather directly from a rodent.
Right. I mean, it can be transmitted. It's just not the main mode of transmission. So listen, I don't think you're going to be seeing a Diamond Princess scenario where however many people on board are going to come down with this infection. Just because it can be transmitted through that mode, it doesn't mean it's the main mode of transmission. And I think there's a lot that goes into transmissible communicable infections, including exposures, how long particles linger in the air, how close you are to individuals who are ill, and go ahead.
What would you think? What would you think hypothetically, and we don't know that WHO is investigating, if 5 people were found to have this, what would that suggest to you? 5 people on that ship.
Yeah, you really need to do an investigation, and you have to really drill down and see, listen, were you all on the same, I'm just making this up, a hiking trip and exposed to the same indoor environment and breathed the same air while you were on land? Like that's happened before. Were you all in the same indoor environment? Of course. Or were the exposures on the ship and people had no exposure to each other until someone had an exposure only to an ill person on the ship? And this is the type of shoe leather epidemiology that really needs to occur to discover exactly who got infected, when they were exposed, who they were exposed to. And I think there are still unanswered questions. So yeah, of course, if the question is, can people get this from others? We know that can happen. It absolutely can. But are you going to see a massive explosive outbreak of this? I mean, this isn't the first time we've seen hantavirus before. And of course, we got to protect everybody and ensure that the main modes of transmission are accounted for. But it's just not known to be exceedingly transmissible from person to person, but of course it can be transmitted from person to person.
Doctor, thank you very much, and maybe we'll go back to this, and I need more help. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Have a great day.
That's right. We have a midterm alert. Sounds sort of like my phone ringing, doesn't it? Is redistricting fair, or is it rigging the election? Right now, redistricting efforts are taking place this week in the South. Lawmakers in Alabama and Tennessee have been called into special session by their respective Republican governors. Both sides seek to redraw its congressional lines following the United States Supreme Court's decision last week. That decision weakened a provision in the Voting Rights Act. The High Court's decision makes it harder for people of color to challenge redistricting plans. Alabama and Tennessee aim to break up its Democratic-leaned districts before the November midterms. Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee said, quote, "We owe it to Tennesseans to ensure our congressional districts accurately reflect the will of Tennessee voters," end quote. Alabama's legislative session is expected to convene in about 20 minutes. Tomorrow, Tennessee will start its session. Meanwhile, you may want to take a second look at this one. A road in Appleton, Wisconsin, yes, my hometown Appleton, has added a decimal point to its speed limit. Why? Well, a county recycling and landfill disposal facility is hoping the rare sign, perhaps better described as bizarre, will stop drivers from speeding. The facility posted on its Facebook page, quote, "You may notice something a little different on your next visit. Our posted speed limit is now 17.3 miles per hour. Why 17.3? Because it makes you pause, it makes you look twice, and most importantly, it breaks that autopilot feeling we can all fall into when driving familiar routes. At Outagamie County Recycling and Solid Waste, we have haulers, contractors, and residents moving through our site every day. With so much activity, staying alert is key to keeping everyone safe. Coming up, chilling footage of a plane crash. That one, the record continues.
Some wireless companies say that they stand for something. What exactly do they stand for, and why won't they say it out loud? Let me tell you what Patriot Mobile stands for. They stand for the lives of the unborn. They stand for the Second Amendment and the right to protect yourself and your family. They stand for our veterans and first responders who sacrifice so much for our freedom. Make the switch to Patriot Mobile today and support a company that doesn't just say they stand for something, but one that stands for the things that matter the most.
Hello, Michael Youssef here. You know, when Jesus stretched his arms on that cross, he is inviting whomsoever would come to him, confessing and repenting, to receive his embrace. Only then will you experience his eternal peace. Will you accept his invitation?
To learn more about the one who is ready to accept you wherever you are in life, visit findingtruepeace.com.
When we started Allegiance, we were shocked to learn how many American flags are actually made overseas.
If there's one thing that deserves to be made here in America, it should start with the American flag.
At Allegiance, we do it differently. Flags 100% made in America, by Americans, with American materials.
Join our pledge to make the American flag truly American.
Visit showallegiance.com to get your high-quality American flag today. That's showallegiance.com.
You're told to optimize, to hack. There's always a promise of a better you. But what if you were never meant to be fixed? Your biology knows how to thrive. It just needs a reminder. Armor Colostrum reawakens that brilliance. 400 nutrients, 4 seconds, 1 daily revival. This time, remember what you're made of.
Is your bath old and outdated, maybe even unsafe? In just one day, Jacuzzi gives you the safety you need and the personal style you want, all at a price you'll love. So your bathroom can go from this to this, this to this, or even this to this. And right now, we're waiving all installation costs and offering no interest or payments for a year.
Go to jacuzzibathroomodel.com or call 800-384-6902.
Mother's Day, the Jewelry Exchange has 8mm pearl strands, $39. Diamond and emerald tennis bracelets, $4.99. 3-carat solitaires in 14K, $12.99. Thousands of gifts guaranteed to appraise for double. The Jewelry Exchange Direct.
Where's my mother gonna... Oh, no. Is this the episode with the breakup?
Reba, we can't agree on the house.
Y'all need Realtor.com. With over 500,000 new listings every month, you could find the one today. This could be it. Better put a key ring on it. Realtor.com.
A tragic plane crash in Brazil killing 2 people was caught on camera. I want to warn you, this footage is disturbing. Today, a small plane took off from a city in southeast Brazil. The plane can be seen descending very fast. Then the plane slammed straight into a residential building. The local fire department says the pilot and co-pilot died. 2 others on the plane are in serious condition. The cause of the crash is under investigation. And did you see this? Yesterday afternoon, a United Airlines flight landing at Newark Airport, New Jersey, struck a light pole and then a bakery truck. New Jersey State Police say the bakery truck driver was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, which is the good news. Preliminary investigation determined that the plane's landing gear and underside struck the pole and the truck. Here's air traffic control discussing the incident.
Did you get a report for what the issue was?
I got different conflictions on the turnpike.
Yeah, they felt something over the threshold, and there's a hole in the side of the airplane. So I'm going to get you on the runway here in a moment. They said it was right at the threshold, so it'll just be a minute.
Roger.
Fortunately, the aircraft landed safely and taxied to the gate normally. All 221 passengers and 10 crew members were unharmed. The plane was coming from Venice, Italy, but how does this happen? Meanwhile, the retirement flight of Spirit Airlines Captain John Jackson was canceled. That's because Spirit Airlines shut down unexpectedly. But good for Southwest Airlines. They gave Captain Jackson a surprise. On Saturday, once Captain Jackson's Spirit flight was canceled, he got a ride on a Southwest flight with his son, Chris. The captain's son, Chris, was not working at the time, but as a Southwest first officer. His son had casually mentioned to the flight pilots that his dad's retirement flight had been canceled. The Southwest pilots immediately coordinated with dispatchers to arrange a surprise retirement tribute upon landing in Baltimore. Here's Captain Jackson deplaning in Baltimore.
Mr. John Jackson.
Very overwhelming. I can't thank you all enough. It's, the spirit goes down. This is kind of a sad day, and you guys made it incredible. Thank you so much.
Coming up, it's happening again. Our multitasking Secretary of State Marco Rubio has another new job. You'll not believe what it is this time. That when the record continues.
Hey, I'm Carl Higbee from Newsmax. Look, I'm unapologetically pro-American, and honestly, this is the one place that lets me call it how it is. I'm not holding back. I'll give it to you straight every single night.
Thanks to Jointivia, I'm back in the swing of things. Wait, $70 for a refill?
You gotta try Single Care. Just look up your prescription, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and save.
See why more people are saving with Single Care.
Hi, it's Christina again. I'm here to tell you about an all-new special offer. Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has a design you'll love at a price you can afford. We're waiving all installation costs and postponing all payments for up to 1 year. And best of all, they can install it in as little as 1 day with no stress and no mess. Take advantage of this special TV offer today.
Go to jacuzzibathremodel.com or call 800-814-7454.
The first time I experienced vertigo, the room was spinning, like I was in a clothes dryer. Then I started taking LipoBalance support. Its ingredients are clinically shown to help reduce dizziness and spinning. Take back control with lipoflavonoid.
So Dale, you really need to get that colon cancer screening.
Dad, it's been forever. I need to be in there. Wrap it up. Come on, Dad. It's been forever.
How much longer?
It's been an hour. Are you done yet?
Dale, don't worry. We can do it with just a blood test. Shield.
Okay, let's do it.
Shield is for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk for colon cancer. Ask your doctor about FDA-approved Shield from the company trusted in blood tests for cancer for over a decade.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
This is a bottlenose dolphin, and this is the breakthrough nutrient doctors discovered that helped dolphins age healthier. Now, over 100 peer-reviewed studies later, it can help you age healthier too. Discover how at fatty15.com.
Simparica Trio protects against 3 categories of parasites.
Power of disease.
This drug class has been associated with neurologic side effects, including seizures. Use with caution in dogs with or without a history of these disorders. Don't just protect, triple protect.
What if you could have shades like these for a fraction of big brand prices? With Shady Rays, you can. We're an independent company, so we do things differently. We offer high-quality polarized shades for a reasonable price. And we personally replace shades that get lost or broken. So far, we've racked up over 300,000 five-star reviews. I founded Shady Rays so that we can have sunglasses that stand up to whatever life throws at us. Order now and get 20% off site-wide at shadyrays.com.
That's right. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has a new job, and it's not what you might expect. Here's the secretary over the weekend. Secretary Rubio got behind the DJ booth at a private family wedding. So if he gets sick of this job as Secretary of State, he might have a future as a DJ. He looks like he enjoyed it and was good at it. Now for some trivia. Also over the weekend, 20 horses and their jockeys raced to win the 152nd Kentucky Derby. Here's a fun fact. 19 of the 20 horses in the race are direct descendants of the late, great Secretariat. That according to Secretariat.com. If you do not know, back in 1973, Secretariat became the first Triple Crown winner in 25 years. But he did not just win all 3 of those races. To this day, he still holds the record for the fastest finish in all 3 races. How did he accomplish such a feat? It turns out his heart was 3 times the size of a normal heart. There have been 663 descendants of Secretariat, including the winner of this year's Derby. He is named Golden Temple. This horse started the race dead last, but he came back from behind to win the Roses. The horse's trainer, Sherry DeVoe, made history. She became the first female trainer to win a Kentucky Derby. She may be on our show tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Ed Henry, The Big Take, is next. Stay with Newsmax.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.